Good morning. Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on this 11th day of March 2025, and it's good to have you as we get into conversations around the matters affecting the country. We'll be talking about key topics. If time allows, we'll talk about the situation with the Auditor General's report, and we saw Parliament saying a few things last week against those offices, the Office of the Auditor General and the Office of the Control of Budget. We'll also speak about the deal between Raila Odinga and President William Ruto, and also looking at the parliamentary reorganization, the committees and the appointments that we've seen there. In studio, I have Geoffrey Wandeto, Member of Parliament for Teto Constituency, Nyeri County. Good morning, Mheshimiwa.
Good morning, Sam.
It's been so long. Where have you been?
It's been a while. In between my duties in the constituency, Parliament, and as I told you, I'm also a student. So occasionally my teacher asks me to be in class.
Oh, okay. How is the transition?
From where to where?
You know, from where to where?
The transition, I guess you're asking me from, from a point of view of the committee changes in Parliament.
And also politically?
Politically.
Yes.
I don't think I've transitioned, Sam.
Oh, you haven't transitioned?
No.
Okay.
It is my leader who was asked to leave government, so I followed my leader.
That's a transition, isn't it? In
a way. Yeah.
Okay. Richard Onyonka is the Senator of Kisii County. Good morning, Senator.
Morning, Sammy.
How have you been?
Okay.
I've seen you denying a few allegations.
What's
going on?
Oh, you mean about yesterday?
Yeah.
Yesterday, we went as a team of elected leaders from Kisii. It was a breakfast meeting.
Yeah.
And we were basically interrogating what the government can do or what it hasn't done. And the discussions were very positive. After we finished the function, I saw people pulling out a statement and saying how we went there to discuss issues of the broad-based government. I said, that's not what we came to discuss.
It was not, you were there the entire meeting?
I was, of course.
And that was not discussed?
No, not at all. It's only that the CS and my brother Osoro discussed the fact that wish that the community joins the broad-based government and everything. And we said that is not what we went to discuss.
Was a vote taken on anything?
No, there was no vote. It was
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You're also denying that you're involved in Kisii, the heckling of Raila Odinga.
Surely, Sam, you've known me coming to the studio here, I think, for the last, I can't remember the number of years. Have you ever heard or seen an incident where I have engaged, participated in any violent crimes? Or I've tried...
Actually, my concern is you're denying.
Yes.
Who accused you?
No, I was accused by a few guys. If you go to social media, you'll see people like Alai, the crazy dogs of the team.
Yeah.
On the other side saying we are just destitute and we should leave ODM. How dare we challenge what the Almighty has decided? And we said, it's not.
Okay.
I mean,
don't you think you're giving them prominence by responding to those allegations?
For 2 days, it's not a bad idea for them to talk about me.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. But it had no value.
All right, Senator Sigei.
The demonstrations and the heckling which took place, Sammy, that crowd is so huge. For you to mobilize them, which means you give them money. I have no money to give people to go and heckle anybody.
All right. Sawa. Senator Sigei, good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
Any issues in Bomet?
Well, yeah, of course. Particularly as a senator, we've got so much issues about accountability. We were aware that a few weeks ago, our governor was arrested. And that's where we are. We're trying to say we have to protect the resources of the public by ensuring that those who are in office are led to account for the abuse of public resources. That is basically part of what we are struggling at the moment with. To see that we have a government that serves the people and not the people in office. That is where we are in Bomet.
Okay.
There is so much that's going on out there also as regards the current political situation in the country.
And we'll talk about that. Someone is asking a question. I mean, you neighbor Nandi County?
No. I border Kericho, Narok, and my neighbor here.
Okay.
Yes. Nandi is actually in the North Rift.
Still within your region, I mean, surely.
Of course, I mean, the South Rift, Nandi is in North Rift.
The neighbor after your neighbor is your neighbor.
As you say, that is true, and probably we share a dialect. Okay. The Nandis. That is actually what would bring us closer.
Now, Fredo Kango, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
It's been so long. What did you go to?
There's been a while. I know. There's been a while, but I'm here.
What's happening?
I'm very happy to be here.
I'm sure you're happy, but what's happening? You've been lost.
No, a lot has been happening. I mean, sometimes you need also to take a step back and watch and come back and give views on what the people want. And I think so much is happening in this country. There's a lot of discontent. Yep. And also the government of the day is also trying to put measures in place to try and secure the lives of Kenyans. But with that as it may, I think we are progressing in a way that we need to do better.
Okay, you need to do better. So this morning, there are interesting stories that are on the dailies. Apart from what's on the Daily Nation about civil servants rejecting Social Health Authority deal, there's an important story that is on the front page of the Standard about the two ladies who had two critical institutions, that is the Control of Budget, Dr. Margaret Nyakango, and the Auditor General, Nancy Gathungu, and they are saying these are the magnificent duo. At a time when independent institutions are weakened and Parliament appears increasingly aligned with the Executive, Auditor General Nancy Gathungu and Control of Budget Margaret Nyakango have remained unwavering public watchdogs, championing accountability in the use of public resources. Despite intense scrutiny and accusations of corruption from MPs, they remain steadfast in the commitment to serving the country. Now, this raised a lot of heat last week. I believe it was on Thursday at the National Assembly. Leaders of the majority and minority and the Deputy Speaker were on their case. Let's listen to what Kimani Ichung'wah, the Leader of Majority, had to say about them.
But the Office of the Comptroller of Budget needs to style up. Ask any governor in this country, they have to go through hell to get their monies approved for use in their counties by the Office of the Comptroller of Budget. And many will tell you, without parting with money, without paying bribes to officers in that office, governors never get justice. Across the country, governors and county governments are suffering because of inefficiencies and corruption in the Office of the Comptroller of Budget. But because they're independent offices, they imagine if anyone speaks about them, the whole world will come crumbling down, saying, oh, you're attacking independent offices.
That's the Leader of Majority, but the Leader of Minority is in agreement with such kind of talk. Watch.
Parliament is now supposed to verify whether the audit report is correct or not correct. Until that is done, Mr. Speaker, and a report is tabled before the Assembly of the House, before the plenary of the House, Mr. Speaker, that audit is not confirmed, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, any audit report is a confirmed report before it is audited, before it is brought before the House. Mr. Speaker, that culture will lead to anarchy. That culture will lead to people's names being destroyed, Mr. Speaker, without any recourse.
Now, the good thing is that at least I have one accountant in the room. Mheshimiwa Ndeto,
yes, please.
The Constitution provides for the creation of these two offices, yes, and what they are supposed to do, yes, to release reports, yes, give to Parliament, and within 3 months Parliament is supposed to act on them. What is the contention of parliamentarians with these two offices?
Some from where I sit, I do not want to say this is a contention of parliamentarians. It is a contention of a few people who feel that these two offices, or a few people who feel that these two offices are coming on the way, or the way they would like to have the gate open to do all they would like to do. These are basically two very important accountability offices. One, the Controller of Budget, is of course the one that watches over government expenditure and ensures that it is procedural, it is released in the right way, it is in line with what has been budgeted. The Auditor General comes after to check how did we procure for the goods and services, was there value for money, was there a proper accounting and things like that. So if you look at these two offices, they are actually part of the, the guardrails that the country have over the excesses of the executive, or indeed the judiciary, or even parliament, because they of course oversight all these institutions. So why would anybody want to attack these offices? Now, I've just heard the leader of majority saying that governors have to part with money. I've not heard of any governor complaining. I do not know. I did not know when the leader of majority was holding brief for governors. If it was coming from Senate, maybe it would even be a better thing. And Sam, again, this shows the dangers of when the opposition gets swallowed by government.
Yes.
In fact, when I see Junet talking like that, I cry for my country. I feel sad because, again, the opposition is the other guardrail that we hope. The government would like to get its way, and do whatever it takes. But now when the opposition joins, there's this whole thing. It's very, very sad. And, Sam, I remember the words that were uttered by the president in 7th March 2022 at Chatham House, where he said that, we are running a mongrel of a government, whereby the opposition is in government
and government.
The government is in opposition. At the same, you do not need to be a political analyst to see that we have come full circle, and we are indeed at the same place. I cry for my motherland. This is a very, very sad situation. And attacking these two offices, I think, was the lowest point. We must call out the leader of majority. We must call out the leader of minority. At least let us have, just some little respect. Whatever is remaining, a little respect for our independent offices.
Were you in the House that afternoon?
Yes, I was.
So what was the arrangement? Because they just spoke and they sat? What is the place of that kind of submission?
These are the things that you are in the House and you get surprised that someone comes and and just from the blue, and we have seen this time and again, just from the blue, an attack is thrown, and it looks like a coordinated attack because immediately a response, or a rejoinder is allowed, and the rejoinder seems to be building on the same thing, and the choir joins, and the choir continues condemning. And, sometimes the voices who have a contrary voice, sometimes you may find they get drowned, in the mass of the choir.
After they spoke, you just went on with the business, or what is the place of that? That's what I'm...
normally what will happen in the House, Sam, is that any motion or any comment will be allowed some time. So the House, sometimes you may be lucky to have a rejoinder, or you may not be lucky, and the House moves on to the next agenda. That is the reality of how Parliament is...
And there were no counter-arguments after they spoke?
Is conducted.
There were no counter-arguments?
I did not hear of any significant counter-arguments.
Senator Nyonka, you've been at the National Assembly before for 3 terms, I think?
Yes.
What is the place of such kind of comments? Because they're coming from the House. In fact, you can see they're being quoted by media houses, including The Standard here.
Yes.
What should these two institutions do with that information?
First of all, I want to thank my brother Wandito, because the reality that you saw on that day, in fact, if you look at the chronology of the discussions, it was like it was an agreed setup. And I could even suggest further that I think when those presentations were being made by Junet Mohammed and company, it was basically a setup where if it had gone to the next level, what they intended to do is come up and pass a motion on the floor of the House, and then after that start making recommendations how these officers now needs to have their performance questioned by a committee. Most probably, can we call out the budget committee or some? It is so unfortunate how some of us don't realize the damage we're doing to the structures that make our country move. I have said severally, and it's because I was advantaged to sit in the SIPA committee.
Yep.
And I had my brother Ichungwa talk about how, according to him, the audit which is presented by the Auditor General is not final. Sam, there is an entry meeting before you do an audit. the officers come from the AOG, they sit with you. The officers in any institution, they give you what their investigation and research have found. They give you a period of close to 3 months for you to respond. Whatever they recommend, and by the time that report is being presented at the House, it's nearly conclusive. All that we do at the committee now is to say, Auditor General, can you please tell us why you concluded this day? They say, we concluded because documents were not available. 90% of the audit queries, there are no documents available. 90% of the audit queries we don't have leadership, whether it is at the county level, as the executive, or at the national level. People don't want to follow the PFM Act. People don't want to follow the laid out procedures by the Finance Act and the Public Finance Management Act to make sure that we actually have prudence, we have responsibility, and we have proper management of our resources. Number two, Sam, when I saw Junet talk about how governors go to the controller budget and they ask for a kick. They are then asked for a kickback by the controller budget for them to release payments. Why would you want to pay the controller budget if you follow the law? And basically, all you do, the requisition you make, the responsibility of the controller budget is to check and follow whether you follow the law. And you know what most of the governors are doing, and indeed most government departments, but I'll use the governors today so that it's simple, Sam. A governor knows that he is given a responsibility to make payments on pending bills. Right now, pending bills is the biggest scam in this whole country. So what does the governor say? Under the rules and the memo that the controller budget sent to all the governors, for example, it is what they call fast in, fast out. All right? What is happening is that when you do work at the county governments, the previous governor, for example, in Kisii, we had Governor James Ungwai. He left the works to continue, those who are tendered for the jobs to be done. People went, they did the jobs and finished. Yep. Now you have the new governor coming in and saying, no, my conviction and belief is that all these pending bills are actually fake. We have discovered in the Senate committees that 50% of those pending bills are actually fake. The only problem is this. The governors then, instead of paying those people who have already worked, they now begin to pay their companies which started working 3 months ago. They leave the companies that were paid, that worked 6 months ago, 1 year ago, or that kind of period. So the controller will not allow payment because there's a schedule that shows when this job starts.
But is there budgetary allocation for pending bills, or you allocate resources to projects or programs?
No, there are. What we did at the parliamentary committee is that we made a recommendation, and the controller made a recommendation. He said, the amount of money that you are supposed to sort out your bills, let's assume you have bills worth $1 billion. Yeah. We want, what the recommendation at that time were, and that was last year, yeah. Can we agree that out of the money you receive, shareable revenue from the national government, can you agree with your members of the county assembly that a certain percentage you start paying those bills which the county has verified? Now, what the counties do, instead of paying the ones they have verified, they pay the ones which started working three months
That's
ago.
your point.
So that is what the controller has been doing. Nancy, she's been stopping and saying, we are misbehaving.
Okay.
Yes.
Senator Sigei, so there's a live report, and I don't know if it's been submitted or tabled or what the status is in Parliament. The current one, the 812 pages of Auditor General's report on different programs within the government, including the one that is touching on the system that was to help the Social Health Authority and the other agencies within the health sector and deployment of technology. What should happen with that information? Because the Constitution requires that within 3 months, Parliament must make a decision. Already the leadership in the House, in the National Assembly, is faulting the findings of the controller. What should happen?
Thank you, Sam. You see, the tabling of the report by the Auditor General is a constitutional edict. Article 229 actually mandates the Auditor General to make sure that this report is tabled in Parliament for purposes of the National Assembly to interrogate the report. Now, as you've put it right, the document is 812 pages. It was signed by the Auditor General on the 24th of January 2025. I think, yes, 24th. It's normally called the Blue Book. Now, this Blue Book cuts across the entire government structure in terms of reporting.
Yes.
Actually, when I looked at it, it has got, of course, all the ministries in the government, all government agencies, all MDS, as well as the county governments, the 47 of them.
Yes.
Besides that, one of the interesting aspects of this report is it still deals with over 9,000 public secondary schools, over 376 level 4 hospitals across the country, over 18 level 5 hospitals, 230 TVETs, and 1,200 VTCs. That tells you the extent of the report in terms of what the Auditor General does.
Right.
And Article 229 requires them to do this within a period of 3 months, yes. The PFM Act similarly allows them a window from the close of the financial year, that is from June up to September. The PFM Act allows all these government agencies and institutions to avail the documents that my brother here, Honorable Onyonga, made reference to, so that if an inquiry has been placed before you as an institution, you have got that window period within which to supply financial statements, documents which were not availed.
By the time we have this report, all those things presumably have been...
That is what the law expects. Yeah. But unfortunately, it doesn't, because...
What do you mean it doesn't? What doesn't happen?
Most of the audit reports actually do not have supporting documents. Most of the payments don't have supporting documents for 2 reasons or 3. Yeah. One, either the institution that is being audited made irregular payments, for instance, in the case of pending bills, where there was a verification, and because the governors or those institutions would want to pay their cronies, and they opt to pay those without document and leave out, even sometimes even the verified bills. So the period of investigations actually that is provided for under Article 229 now becomes shorter. Yeah. Because it's supposed to be 6 months, but there is this window of 3 months, then you'll only be remaining with 3 months. Yes. So in essence, the lawfulness and effectiveness of even an inquiry by Parliament, the Auditor General's report, will be affected by the timelines which have been reduced. And so...
But once you receive the report, and you haven't told me if this report has been tabled, has it?
Yes. No. I believe it's already in Parliament. It actually is. That is why it became a subject of discussion.
So received in Parliament, but has it been tabled to become a document of the House?
No, not before the committees. Because, you know, we've got now the various departmental committees and standing committees that we deal. PAC, CPAC will largely be the committees.
But does it come to Senate?
Yes, it does.
So for the committees to start working on it, what is the procedure like? Is it first tabled before the House?
Yes.
Or is it...
It is tabled.
It is tabled.
It is tabled.
Has that happened?
Yes,
then
becomes a public
document.
Has that happened?
Yes.
So the 3 months are already running?
Yes.
Of course.
What is Senate doing with it as
now,
we speak?
This is it.
Yeah.
June, September is the 3-month period that PFM Act also gives an additional time, right? The law actually expects that this report should be available for the investigation, the debate, and dealing with the relevant committees from the period September running through 3 months would take us to this March. Yes, that should be 6 months. No, so it is going to immediately be running. It's actually, I'm very sure, as...
So do the 3 months run after tabling?
Yes.
So you're still okay. You can do your work comfortably.
Of course.
If the report, I don't know when it was tabled, so the 3 months are running. That's what I'm asking. What is Senate doing with this report?
Now, what definitely will happen, Sam, is to interrogate all these reports.
Yeah.
For instance, now in the Senate, largely agencies that are within the devolved government and the county governments, because the 47 of them have got their reports. This is what the Senate committees will do. Interrogate the report.
Will or is doing?
Is doing.
Is doing. Is doing, yes. Is doing, yes. Chairman of CPAC is the Honorable Senator Kajwang.
Yes.
Yes.
Will that process be finished within the 3 months?
I doubt.
I
doubt whether it
point of information, Sammy.
Yeah.
The truth is that is why for the last 12 years that we've had devolution, audit reports have actually never been up to date.
Yes.
But right now, with what Kajwang is doing, is that we had pushed, by the time I was in that committee as of last year, we had pushed the audit reports until 2023 for all of them in the Republic of Kenya.
Yeah.
In fact, we only have 1 year, 2024, and everything will be up to date, which then, you know, is what it means. Once the audit reports have been done, that is actually the template or the basis under which shareable revenue.
What action has been taken after all those reports are reviewed?
That is what Kajwang was saying. I mean, Sifuna, when the reports are brought, the SIPA committee actually sits through that committee. We have ESCC, we have individuals from the DCI, we have Auditor General's office, we have people from the Control of Budget, we have people from Treasury. We then sit down and interrogate every report. Yes.
After interrogating,
yes,
you write
then
a report
we
as a
make
committee.
recommendations. And the recommendations are, we make a recommendation, you prosecute these ones. We want the DCI to move in. ESCC, please move in. Immediately that is done, nothing happens.
Goodness. Beyond that, just to close on it.
Let's give Fred an opportunity.
Just to close on what happens also after that report. It also informs a number of policy changes. For example, change in law. If in the course of the Auditor General's report, they identify that the reason as to why these pending bills are paid, I'm just using that as an analogy, or those genuine ones are not paid, there would be a requirement that we need to change the policy on how we operate. We also legislate out of the Auditor General's report. And the unfortunate thing is that sometimes we actually do not get those recommendations acted upon by the relevant government institution, including holding responsible personnel or officials who have not complied with the recommendations made by the committee.
Well, Fred, you and I don't sit in Parliament. So what would you want to see? Because they're admitting that, yes, the processing of the audit reports will be done, but action not necessarily as per recommendations, and sometimes you may not even get the expected recommendations.
Thank you, Sam. First of all, I must say that I appreciate what these two ladies are doing as a Kenyan. And that is how we are strengthening institutions that are independent in this country. Now, let's start from the appointment of the holders of these offices, from 228 to 229. The appointment is such that the nomination comes from the president, it goes through approval of parliament, members are seated here, and then they are appointed by the president. And then, even if the members of parliament complain of these holders of the office, the experience that is required for them to hold that office, they must have at least 10 years experience on public finance. So it means, to that extent, they are capable and qualified to do that job. Now, the controller of budget cannot approve any withdrawal unless that office is satisfied that that withdrawal is lawful. That's number one. A lot of issues the members of parliament here have raised, it means that the withdrawal that has been happening, some of them are not lawful, and therefore she cannot approve. Number two, every 4 months, Sam, the control of budget also submits a report on how the budget is being implemented, national and the county. What are they doing about that? If there's an issue of that report, what are the members of parliament doing? Let's go to the Auditor General. The Auditor General, it's only the audit report, Sam, that shall prove whether public money has been used lawfully or efficiently. That is the law. Now, the members of parliament, you know, within 6 months after the audit, after the end of financial year, the Auditor General shall audit and report. Where does he report or she report? Report that to the public and take it to parliament. Then the members of parliament have got 3 months to debate, consider, and then the last word is take appropriate action. That's where we are. 229. Now, I believe...
Which includes to verify.
Exactly.
Yes. As Jeanette says.
Not necessarily verify, but appropriate action could be recommendation on the report. I believe that one of the things that the members of parliament must start considering is recommending that the audit reports must be used as the first piece of evidence where money has been misappropriated in a court of law. So that we get these people who are misusing funds. my good friend Senator Sigei has said that there are instances where these funds have been misappropriated. And as a senator, he's a watchdog of those counties. So he knows more than we do. So I strongly believe that if the members of parliament want to help this country, if the members of parliament want to strengthen institutions, as they say they want to, then once they receive this report, debate, and now the appropriate action that they must take, considering now, is to recommend that these reports, where money has been misappropriated, they use this report as a piece of evidence, so that they capture all these culprits that are misappropriating public funds.
Mheshimiwa Ndeto, as you take a break, so there are several reports that have come adversely mentioning constituencies in terms of implementation of NGCDF funds.
Yes.
What has Parliament been doing with those reports?
Regularly, we find the committee in charge tables reports of NGCDF usage. And just like my friend here has talked about, if you look at Article 229, just like it says, Parliament shall basically, just to quote the words exactly, it says that Parliament shall debate, consider, and take appropriate action. And actually, action is indeed taken. Yeah? Because
on NGCDF?
On NGCDF.
What action does Parliament take?
Because after the report is debated in Parliament and a report is written, the report is then supposed, if there is any criminal liability, the report is then supposed to be picked either by DCI, EACC, or the other relevant.
But what happens? Because
again, I cannot speak for those independent offices.
But you can speak for where you sit.
Yes, let me speak from where I sit. I was, until last week, a member of the Public Investments Committee.
Sorry, say it again?
Until last week,
yes,
I was a member of the Public Investments Committee on Agriculture, Administration and Social Services.
Yes.
And I was in the team that used to look at the Auditor General's report for about 138 parastatus. Okay? This was until last week. And I can tell you what we do in our committee. You know, just like
any action you remember that was taken after your reviews?
We have written numerous reports.
Any action that was taken?
But nothing nothing.
Well, some generally in this country, as soon as things reach DCI, it's up to DCI to pick up and consider. I am aware of.
Do you know of any matter that you are?
I am not aware of.
Sorry, let me see.
That's the truth. The truth is, I am not.
So, just hold it. So the auditor's report came.
Yes.
Your committee looked at it because you said 130 parastatals. Yes. You made recommendations, and those recommendations are followed through with.
They are taken back to Parliament as a report. Yes.
Do you remember any action being taken because of your work?
I am aware of ongoing court cases. Like, for example,
because of your work.
Because of our work, yes, I am aware. If you look at some of the things, if you look at some of the things that are going on in NHIF, there has been some criminal prosecution with regards to some land they acquired, with regard to the parking silo. There are some people who are accused. There are some ongoing cases, but some of these cases may not necessarily have been because of the current work of the PIC committee that I sat. It could have been because of the previous
That's what I'm asking. I mean, you've been in Parliament for 2.5 years now, and the committee that you sat in for more than 2 years, you can't remember any action.
I cannot remember of an ongoing court case.
What
yes,
what is the value of that provision in the Constitution then?
It's a very good, that's a very good question, Sam. And the simple answer to that is, once Parliament finishes its work, who is dropping the ball? Because Parliament is doing its work as per the Constitution. Because Parliament has no prosecutory powers.
So
once I write...
Who is dropping the ball?
I'm saying who is dropping the ball as far as this is concerned. I believe it now goes back to people like DCI, it goes back to EACC, and the other relevant organizations.
But you can't remember a recommendation that you made that needed action from a certain institution.
We do make recommendations.
Please, find one.
Whether they pick it up or not, that is what I'm saying. They're the people dropping the ball.
You'll give it to me as you come from break. And of course, message here that there's a problem with how we process some of this, and the Special Funds Committee of the National Assembly has so far always cleared all constituencies despite the adverse reports that come from the Auditor General on NGCDF, and the fact that the Auditor General is the technical advisor or assistant to Parliament in its oversight function world over. And of course, this, like some of you said, Auditor General representatives sit in all these oversight committees as subject experts to help the committees with their work. We're taking a short break. When we come back, we dive into the conversation about the deals that we're hearing in politics and how that affects the future of politics and parliament.